back to my channel. Today is a very exciting video. We are going to be talking about my favorite books of 2022. I decided to do a top 10 just to narrow it down, because if I talk about like every single book that I liked this year, we'd be here for a while. I read 51 books this year. Was not exactly how much I wanted to read. I did go through like a 4-month reading slump all throughout summer, so I didn't get to read as much as I'd hoped. I found a lot of great books this year and I cannot wait to share them with you. I'm sure you've heard of a lot of them. I've read a lot of popular books this year. I'm hoping next year I can branch out and find some new books for others to enjoy, but these are my solid top 10 books I really enjoyed. I did order them from 10 to 1, but the order is very not that important. I feel like these are all great books that are worth the read. So let's get started, and we'll start from 10 and then we'll go down to my favorite book of the year. So my 10th favorite book of this year was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I read this in like May or so and I absolutely loved it. I have a feeling this will definitely become a classic that is read in school. I feel like it was super amazing. Basically, it's about a girl named Kaya who lives in the marsh, and I believe it takes place, in the 1960s, 1970s, and basically her whole family abandons her, and she basically has to fend for herself, and the townspeople discriminate against her because she's poor and doesn't go to school. And then there's a murder that takes place, and basically she gets framed for the murder, and it is super great. I would say the first 150 pages are a little slow, and I feel like that's why a lot of people don't like this book, but I thought it was beautifully written. The end was amazing. The plot twist was shocking, and I think it's definitely worth the read. If you've watched the movie, this book is like so much better than the movie in my opinion, so I definitely recommend you pick up the book, because I think you guys would enjoy it if you liked the movie. So yeah, this was my number 10. Next book I read on my Kindle, so I'll just put it up here, but it's Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This book totally took me by surprise. I did not think I was going to love this book as much as I did. It's basically about a figure skater and a hockey player and in college, and the ice rink gets vandalized, so they all have to go to one rink and share it, and it's a little grumpy sunshine, found family, beautiful, great story. I thought it was amazing. The spice was amazing as well. I loved Nathan, who is the main male. He is super sweet, super amazing. I feel like no red flags. But it is grumpy. The girl is grumpy in this book, which is something I really liked. I feel like it's always the guy that's grumpy. I don't think I've even read a girl that's grumpy yet in a book until this one, and it's like my new favorite trope. I am obsessed with it, like seriously. I believe it's going to be a series, which I'm super excited about. Like, it's going to be kind of like the Briar U off-campus series, which I haven't yet to read, but it's going to be kind of like standalones that all go together. But all the characters in this book were written so well. They were funny, they were so likable. You will definitely love every character in this book. All the hockey players are hilarious, just super full of character, which I loved. And the love story obviously is epic and great. And yeah, it was very entertaining the whole way through. I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. So next is Every Summer After, which I lent out to a friend, so I don't have the physical book. I lent out so many books this year and I have yet to get them back. It's also partly my fault because I haven't asked for them back, but I'm like kind of stressing because my favorite books are gone. A lot of people didn't like this book because they felt like it was a total copy of Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. I loved it. And I think it's because I really loved Love in Other Words and I wanted something with the same vibe, and I got it. Did not disappoint. Every summer they go to like a lake house, and there's two brothers and the girl Percy, and basically they fall in love and there's a falling out obviously, and then they don't talk for years, and then the brother's mother passes away, so she goes back for the funeral and reconnects, and we find out kind of why they disconnected and why they broke up. And yeah, it was a really great heartfelt story. I loved it. The twist at the end was somewhat predictable, but it was still great. The reveal was everything I had hoped for. The rekindling was everything I hoped for. It's just a really beautiful like summer read, and I think if you have not read it yet, definitely save it and read it this summer and you will not be disappointed. I absolutely loved this book. The characters were great. I loved the side characters. I loved the parents. I just love a good, well-written character, and I feel like she did it with this. The plot was great, and it just gives you summer vibes, but it's also an emotional read, which I love, and it definitely hits you right in the feels, so I definitely recommend Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. Next book I have is Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. This one totally took me by surprise. I did not think I was going to love this book as much as I did. This book had me sobbing. Sobbing at the end, which I feel like a lot of Colleen Hoover's books have you sobbing. But basically it's about a girl named Bea who lives in a trailer park with her mom, and I believe her mom passes away. But basically she ends up going to spend summer with her dad, who is really rich, and he has a new family. And basically she connects with the daughter that he has and her two friends, and obviously falls in love with a guy named Samson, who is also rich and living in the house next door. So they come from like two different worlds, and there's a lot of banter with that, and her grappling with, you know, privilege and almost how am I falling in love with this guy who's so much more privileged than me when, you know, my dad has all this money and I didn't get a cent of it my whole life. And then there's obviously they fall in love, and then there's some big twist at the end, which I'm not going to obviously reveal because I want you to read the book, but it was amazing. Super heartfelt, loved it, but I wasn't hearing much about it when I first read it, and a lot of people actually didn't like it that much, which I was shocked because this book was definitely one of my top favorite Colleen Hoover books I've ever read. So yep, it's a great summer read. I highly recommend it. Another like emotional sort of read, especially toward the end, and I think you will definitely enjoy it. Next book, my number 6 is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the first and only Taylor Jenkins Reid book I've read so far. I have One True Loves, but I haven't picked it up yet. But I loved this book. Everyone needs to read this book. Like everyone, and I'm sure everyone already has. It's super duper popular for a reason. It's about a Hollywood star named Evelyn Hugo, and she hires a journalist to write her life story, and basically we talk about her whole life from the 1950s through the 1980s, her whole Hollywood career, and it's super heartbreaking, super great. The twist in the beginning, I actually did not see coming at all, and it turned this story it just turned this story to a whole nother level for me. It's definitely a great story with a lot of heart, and it has a deep message to convey. Another book, sobbed at the end. I just don't have words to describe how meaningful this book was. I recommend it to everyone. It is fabulous. As you can see, I kind of annotated it. I am so bad at annotating books, so I have my little baby, some stuff quoted, but other than that, definitely if you've not yet read this book, you need to get your hands on it. Next book is another book I lent out, and that is number 5, and it is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This was actually the first book I read this year, and it got me way back into reading hardcore. I actually before this year hadn't read really since high school. I just couldn't get into it, and this book got me right back in, and I ever since have been reading 10 books a month. I'm obsessed. But basically it's about a girl named Lowen. I'm what are their names? I don't know. It's been a long time since I read it, but it's about a girl named Lowen who is a writer, and she gets hired to finish writing for this famous author, and she goes and stays at the house, and she has a son and her husband. And basically she goes into her library to do research so she can write the book like her, so she can be her ghostwriter, because she was in an accident that basically left her like a vegetable. And so she is rummaging through her office and finds this manuscript, and it is really dark, really twisted. You literally cannot believe that someone wrote this. And it's about her grappling with reading this and her being upstairs. It's really creepy. It's a thriller romance, but I would say it's more of a thriller. The romance in it to me wasn't that big of a plot or that interesting to me. I hope she comes out with more books like this. Crazy. I read it in a day. I couldn't stop. I had to know what was going to happen. The ending is insane. Absolutely one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. So next is number 4, and that is The Inheritance Game by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This book single-handedly got me out of my reading slump. Absolutely obsessed. This is a young adult book. It's about a girl named Avery who lives kind of in poverty, and one day gets called into the principal's office at school by a famous philanthropist's grandson, and they basically say she is in the will and she has to come to the will reading. So she travels to his mansion and finds out that he basically left everything to her, and there's some puzzles going on, and they're trying to figure out why he left everything to her and her significance and everything. It was so good. If you are in a reading slump and need something fast-paced, this is it. This is it. This is the one. There is a little bit of subplot of romance in it as well, which I really loved. It wasn't the main focus for sure, like not my main concern with this book, but it was really great as well. There's a little love triangle-ish kind of thing, but I'm like, was it really a love triangle? I feel like we all knew who she was going to end up with. I mean, it would only make sense. But yeah, another great read. The chapters are super short, so like I said, super great book if you are in a slump or need something to get you into reading. This is also great. I also want to lump in the second book as well with this, The Hawthorne Legacy. Another like 5-star read for me. It was so twisty. The end of this book leaves on a really crazy cliffhanger. I had to go straight to the store and pick up the second book. I even picked up the third book as well because I was like, who knows what's gonna happen at the end of the second book. I gotta have the third book on hand. So yeah, I'm sure most of you have read it, but if you haven't, you need to make it a goal to read this series this coming year, because absolutely probably one of my favorite series I've ever read. Number 3 is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This actually is like the only thriller on the list, so definitely my favorite thriller of the year. I picked this up on a whim because I loved the cover of this. I mean, look at it. It's like so intriguing, right? It's about a group of friends that were in college together, and the girl's roommate gets killed, murdered. They come back for their college reunion, and things start going down, secrets start coming out. You see the point of view of like every single friend in this book, which I liked, and you know, you start to find out their secrets and stuff like that. It's one of those books. Everyone in this book is morally gray. I know that's a reason why a lot of people didn't like it, which I was like, it's a thriller. People are not going to be like saints, but if you're not into that, you probably won't like this. But everyone is, their thoughts are super like dark, and you're like, who did it, right? And someone does get framed for it in the beginning, but the twist at the end was really great. There were plot twists throughout the whole story. I just absolutely could not put this book down. So if you have not read In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, add it to your TBR immediately. Love, 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 loved this, and I cannot wait to read The Last Housewife, which is her newest book. I just picked it up if you watched my book haul, so I think I will be reading that next month for sure, and I predict it will definitely be a 5-star as well. Next is our number 2 spot, which is super exciting, and it is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. You guys, this book destroyed me, destroyed my soul. And it's a childhood friends to lovers story. They fall in love, and it's told in dual timelines, and in the future they meet up again after years of being disconnected. And I believe he has a girlfriend and she's engaged to someone else. And basically we're going back and forth between the timelines, and as they rekindle their relationship and, you know, find out why they disconnected years later. As you can see, it sounds a lot like Every Summer After, which was written after this book, by the way. But I love them both. I think this is like the one you can read any time of the year, and then that one's your little summer love in other words, which some people might not like. I don't know if Christina Lauren is appreciative of that or not, but this book was absolutely heart-wrenching. The end will totally crush your soul. 5 stars for me if it crushes my soul and has me sobbing. I literally was ugly crying throughout this book, like ugly crying, like making noises, like awful. So it's a great love story. I love Macy and Elliot. You are into like friends to lovers, really heartfelt emotional romances, first loves, you will definitely enjoy this book. Now it is time for my #1 book of the year. I might get judged for this, but I don't care. This was my favorite book I read this year, and that book is Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover, another book I lent out to my friend, so I'm gonna just have it right up here. But oh my gosh, this book was absolutely amazing, absolutely blew me away. It's about a girl named Kenna who gets out of prison and goes back to her town she grew up in to reunite with her daughter that she had in prison. Everyone is against her and doesn't really want her to have a relationship with her daughter for some reasons that, like I said, you find out throughout the book. It is super emotional. It's frustrating almost at points to read because you understand where everyone's coming from, but you also want to side with the mom because it's like, can you imagine not being able to have a relationship with your daughter? And then of course there's a love story in it, and he is really close with the family who has the daughter, and so then they kind of form a connection, and he starts to help her rebuild relationships with the family so that she can have access to her daughter. And it is super emotional, super heart-wrenching, like I said, at times super frustrating to read, but I think it tells an amazing message about forgiveness. Literally, I'm thinking about the ending and I'm like tearing up. Literally, the ending will have you just totally obsessed. Like, I just can't. It will have you in tears. And it's just because it's such a beautiful ending. The ending alone, I was just like, okay, this is it. This is the book of the year for me. I will definitely be rereading it for years to come. I recommend it to everyone. If you don't like Colleen Hoover books that much because you feel like they glamorize toxic relationships, I encourage you to try out Reminders of Him. I feel like it's very different from like Ugly Love and all those books. And It Ends With Us, all of those. I think it's definitely conveying a different message overall, and I really appreciate the work, and I think it's a great story, and I'm so happy that she wrote it. So those were all of my favorite books that I read in 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know down below what your favorite book of the year was. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you in my next one. Bye.